Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Our Silver Moments. My name is Colleen. If this is your first time visiting, I hope that you'll stick around and see what we're all about. If you're a returning friend, then thank you for coming back yet again. I really appreciate you being here. If any of you are like we are right now, we are getting overrun with tomatoes and they are ripening like mad. And we're just about to the end of the season. So I've been trying to come up with some creative ways to use up some tomatoes, and I found a crazy recipe on the internet that turned out to be really good. So I always try to trial everything that I might share with you to make sure that I'm giving you good advice. And I think if you try this tomato pie, you're going to be happy with your decision. I'm going to wash up these tomatoes and gather up the few things that we need. This is actually quite simple, and I will be right back to teach you about tomato pies. I'll see you soon. Now the first thing we have to do for this pie is the crust. And when I trialed it, I used one of my own crusts, but today I'm going to use one of these boxed crusts. This one should do the trick just fine. I have used them before and I find them to be absolutely sufficient for what we're about today. I just wanted to make sure when I was shopping for it that I got the one that was all vegetable shortening, because they're made for more savory dishes, and this is definitely a more savory dish. We're going to put this on our oldest cookie sheet or some sort of a vessel that's going to go in the oven. And I'm just going to make sure that this frozen pie, which I have left out for a few minutes, is right down to the ends. And I'm just going to dock it a little bit, but not terrifically lots, because we're going to throw this crust in the oven and pre-bake it a little bit. That seems to be the secret of this pie because it's pretty juicy on the bottom, and if you want to keep it from making the crust on the bottom just, sloppy, this is the way to do it. So I'm just going to put a piece of noisy tin foil in the bottom, and I got out my bag of split peas that I used for weights. And I'm just going to dump them inside here. And we're going to brown this guy for about 10 minutes in the oven. So we'll get that in there right away, and then we can get started on the rest of the ingredients. And as I said before, it's just a few, and they all sound completely random and silly, and yet it all seems to work. So here we go. I've set the timer for 10 minutes, and now I am going to get to work on some of the other ingredients. And we're going to start, I think I'll chop up the onion now. I'm going to use about half a cup of onion. And we're going to need about 3 cups of tomatoes, and I'll show you that process in a minute. It's crazy that at this time of the year we're if we're growing any amount of tomatoes, if we're fortunate, I should say, we are all being overrun with fabulous homegrown tomatoes, because there's no flavor quite like that of a homegrown tomato. And we happen to love fresh tomatoes here, so it's funny because throughout the summer and the fall, when the little tomatoes are coming onto our bushes, and we have about, I think there's 4 cherry tomato bushes out there, while we patiently wait for the big tomatoes to come on, we are eating tomatoes every day. And we're putting tomatoes up in different kinds of salsas and pickles, and come the fall, you kind of get a little tired of having tomatoes around all the time. So it's usually not such a hardship when you get to that point, you get to the end of it, and you're happy to see the end of it. And yet all winter long we continue to eat them in different ways, and all kinds of sauces and different concoctions that we've brewed up. Now I am just going to, I think I'll take about 4 tomatoes to start with, and I'll get a measuring cup because we need 3 cups of tomatoes, and I am going to squeeze most of the juice and seeds out of these. I'll be back in a moment. Now tomatoes are good for us. They're filled full of all different kinds of antioxidants and vitamins, and they have definitely proven themselves. And most of us treat them as if they were a vegetable, but they are in fact a fruit. And so that they can be used in all kinds of applications as a result. Now I'm just checking for bad spots as I go. These tomatoes have been ripening here, their final journey the last few days, and so it's important to get them used up because there's no sense in growing them and going to all the effort of watering and caring for them all summer long to let them go to waste by neglecting them sitting on the counter or in a card box under the bed. That's how my grandma used to do it. She would take a piece of red fabric, I believe it was a tablecloth left over from Christmas, and she would line the box with the red fabric, and she would put the tomatoes, the really green tomatoes, into the box and put it away in a dark place. Now, the interesting part of all that is that the tomatoes that touch the red fabric actually ripened before all the rest in the box. Now I don't know if that's because they were closer to the edge and there was more air circulation, but she swore by putting something red in there, and sometimes that was just like a rubber ball she would put in there, and sure enough, you would see all the tomatoes around the ball turn red. It seems kind of crazy, but some of those, well, no, a lot of those old wives' tricks really did work. It was probably years of trial and error and things being passed down from generation to generation, but they worked nonetheless. Now, I don't know if you've ever made a tomato pie, or if you've ever even heard of such a thing as tomato pie, but I'm excited to be giving it a try for sure. Now I'm about the 2-cup level. I'm just going to, I might be a little above it. I'm just going to squeeze out this last one, and I think that will be all I need. And I'll get this chopped up. I just kind of chopped them small. I didn't make them like super small. I hope you guys are happy to be heading into a little cooler season wherever you live, and I know I was really happy when I started watching the temperature take a dip, and it's at that time of the year when you know that the chances of it getting really hot again are pretty slim. So that makes me happy. You know, I'm not even sure how many tomatoes I had on that board when I think about it. Maybe 6 or 8, 7, I don't know. But I do know that those are ready to go. Now, we just need to put about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt on there and give it a bit of a stir around. I'm just going to stir. And then we'll move on to, try not to dirty a whole bunch of bowls. And then we'll move on to the next step. Now, I'm just going to pinch off from these stems, which came from the grocery store because my basil is all over now. I'm just going to pinch off the leaves. And you need about 1/4 cup of basil that's been chopped. So I'm not sure what the, oh, there's our crust. Let me just grab that out of the oven. Now, I'm not sure how many leaves that amounts to, but I'm going to use most of the leaves that came in this little plastic packet. There are some of them that don't look all that delightful, so I'm probably not going to use them, but I'm going to use most of them. There we go. And now I'm just going to take them all into a bunch, or as close a bunch as I can get. I'm going to use my same knife because everything's going into the same place. And I'm just going to chop this pretty finely. It doesn't have to be like super fine, but this seems like a lot, but trust me when I say it, you appreciate the flavor that comes with this recipe. Okay, we're going to be able to start assembling things here. So I'm just going to get the peas out of the shell, and I'll bring that back and we'll get moving on to the next step. Well, here we go. And I think I kind of have everything all over the place. Let's see if I can make a little more sense of it for you. Okay, I'm going to get this back in front of me. Hopefully you can see that good enough there. And we're going to just start to layer these things in. So I have about 1/2 cup of onions, maybe a little more than that. So I'm going to just layer that. That's going to be my first layer in here. As I said before, weird, I'm going to drain any extra moisture off these tomatoes that might have developed while they were sitting there, because you don't need the extra moisture. I have to remember that this pie shell isn't as big as my last one. So I'm going to fill it about 2/3 full, I guess, fresh tomatoes. And then I'm going to add the basil all over top of that. This is going to be dinner tonight at our house. I shared this recipe, like a picture of it, and said something like, tomato pie on Instagram and on my Facebook page, on my personal page. And I had a lot of people ask me for the recipe. So I thought, well, why not? It is a good recipe. I enjoy it. So I think you will too. Now, so far that seems pretty simple, I think. I'm just going to slide that off to the side. I'm going to bring this big, my favorite mixing bowl over here. And we need 3 things to go in here. We need 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. I know, sounds like a crazy ingredient, but we need that. And we need a total of 2 cups of cheese. Now I am going to mix the cheeses up, and I'm going to kind of eyeball it and put in 1 cup of mozzarella and shredded, and 1 cup of shredded cheddar, and that will make the top crust, believe it or not. We're going to mix these up. It looks like a gooey mess, like we may have made a bad experiment. And let me tell you, I thought that the first time I made it. I thought, oh Dino, what have we done now? But it turned out to be great. Okay, I'm gonna bring that back over, being mindful that the pan might still be hot. And we're just going to spread this all over the top of the pie. Well, folks, here it is, tomato pie. I'm going to leave this to cool and set on the counter here for probably 10-15 minutes. And then I will cut a piece for you so that you can see what it looks like when it's cut. But this is definitely a winner that will be going into our food lineup. Well, hello folks. Here's the finished pie. And as you can see by the fact that I'm holding it up, it's been a while. I got working on some house chores and totally forgot about it, but we're hungry now, so we're gonna dive into this, and I wanted to give you a look at it, what it looks like on the inside. And I don't know, it surprised me so much the first time I made it that it would actually like hold together or look like anything. It's an interesting flavor. And let's see if we're gonna get it out of there. I sure hope so. I'll get the plate over here a little closer. I absolutely lost some of it, but I think you get the idea. This is what it looks like. And I'm gonna have a bite just because with everything that was going on, I've gotten hungry. So, it shouldn't taste this good. It really shouldn't. If you haven't tried tomato pie and you have an abundance of tomatoes like we do, folks, it's time to give it a try. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and that if you have, you'll consider liking and sharing with your friends and becoming a member of this online family. I really appreciate you being here and coming back week after week. And there's a whole bunch of you that are coming back week after week, but you're not subscribed, and that puzzles me. So help me out and subscribe to the channel, and I will continue to try and keep bringing you things that are interesting or sometimes weird, but that you might enjoy. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.